my goal on these is to jump on and just help you out, man. Just help you out. Because the reality is like the world it can be a pretty difficult place to navigate. And I was just thinking about this morning. Really one of the keys to life and like navigating through it is like one of my mentors told me. And he told me that the key is to stay confident enough to move forward, but humble enough to continue to learn. You know, basically what he was describing was like that we all need to have the ability to feel knowledgeable, but stay open. You know, and I think as you continue on your path, there's actually this really good book. It's called The Logic of Failure. It's by this German author. His name's Dietrich Dahmer, if I'm pronouncing it right. And you know what he talks about in that book is that he studies problem solving with human beings. Okay, and what he graphs. Okay, he takes this graph and he draws it out, and he says that when somebody's new to a problem set, they dive really, really deep into trying to understand it, and that gives them a sense of confidence. So there's this huge spike in their ability to solve the problem. Okay, and then at some point they get confident that they know what's going on with the problem, and they stop learning like they did at the beginning, and they actually become less likely to be able to solve the problem. And so there's a drop in their ability to solve the problem, which is a really fascinating concept. You know, he goes on and he talks about ways that we can stay at a heightened state of problem solving. It's a really, really good book, one of my favorite books. And it was gifted to me by, you know, a mentor that I had. He was actually an Australian lieutenant colonel. But my point here is that in no matter what you're doing, you're gonna reach a point of competence. And when you start getting to that level of competence, it's important that you don't get complacent with the fact that there's actually a lot more that you can learn and know. Okay? It really is one of the keys to succeeding in life, like my mentor told me. You know, to get to that point where you're constantly searching for more information to solve the problem, and then stay there. Right? Like, how do you continuously stay at that peak? Okay? Many people, they get tired of their situation. They get tired of where they're at in life. And they begin to do the work to figure out a way to get to a new level in life. And usually it's because the pain of being where they're at is too great. They say, you know what, fuck this, I gotta get out of this situation. So they start learning and studying and growing. And then they get to that level that I'm talking about, and things aren't so bad. And they say, hey man, what I've done has got me to this level. I just need to keep doing what I've done, and I can get to the next level. And that's actually a lie. It's actually a lie, because you're getting less and less immersed in the new level with a false sense of confidence. You know, and I blame the ego. You know, the ego is the one that'll get you to that level and then tell you to stop doing the next level things. So those are some opening thoughts, guys. You know, I just wanted to talk about that, and we can do a quick Q&A. I want to get to know you guys. Allie, Jay, what's up? Alan, good to see you guys on. Nice to meet you. You guys can do a Q&A, all right? You guys can ask me something personal, professional, something to help guide you along. Francine, good to see you. By the way, we gotta meet up. maybe get some lunch or something, some dinner or something. Okay. Stefan, what's up? So here, let's just do a Q&A. If you guys like that comment about, oh, I don't like the way that's written. Q&A, ask anything. Alex, what's up, dude? Gray, what's up, my man? That really is one of the keys. Excuse me, it sounded weird. That really is one of the keys in life, huh? You know, to stay open enough to continue to learn at a high level, but confident enough to move forward. Really is. This is a really good question. I want to share a model with you guys real quick. Something that I think will be beneficial. All right. This is, if you don't know, I coach people on leadership and high performance. Right. So one of the things that I focus on is behavioral change. How to change a person's behavior. This is going to tie into Alex's question about who I surround myself with. Okay. And I'm gonna give you exactly who I put in my circle and how I'm an architect of that. So there's this concept called the theory of planned behavior, okay? And what this means is that there is a natural flow to behavioral change with people, all right? And basically there's two segments to this thing. There's the first segment, which is the theory of reasoned action. Okay? So the theory of reasoned action is a chain of events that happens for a person to create behavioral change. What it means is that if I'm an individual and I want to change my behavior, like maybe I want to be more consistent, or maybe I want to stop partying 7 days a week, right? Anyways, I want to change my behavior. Well, in order for me to change that behavior, I have to reason it with myself. It has to be justified in my head. There has to be, I have to convince myself that I should, right? And we've all been here before where you felt like changing your behavior 1 minute and then a couple of days goes by and you go back to the old behavior. Okay, so the theory of reasoned behavior means that these chain of events will cause that behavioral change. And the first thing is the person's attitude. Okay, so if I want to change from drinking 7 days a week or whatever, partying 7 days a week, or not being consistent in my training, the first thing is that I got to have the right attitude. Okay. Now, that might sound simple, but it's actually a little more complex than people would pay attention to, because, a mentor of mine said this one time: your attitude determines your aptitude, okay? Which means that, like, the way you approach, the attitude you have towards a problem set is going to dictate what path you end up taking, okay? Have you ever heard somebody say, like, whether you tell yourself you can or can't, you're right? Okay, this is the same type of concept. So the theory of reasoned action means that I am an individual that is trying to reason with myself about what behavior I'm going to change. And the first component is my attitude. I have to have the right attitude that inspires change. If I'm negative about it, I'm not going to course correct. If I'm like, this is stupid, I don't need to change. How many people have been like that before? Partied every single day of the week, and they're like, I don't need to change. I don't have a fucking problem. Or maybe they're like, their training is inconsistent, and they're saying, they're trying to get their health and fitness in order, right? And they're like, I'm running this business, I don't need to change, right? This is more important. I don't need to be more consistent with my training. So that type of thing that's the first component of reasoned action, is the person's attitude. Okay. The next component, which ties into Alex's question here. Alex asked, how do I go about designing my team? Okay. Well, in order for a person's behavior to change, there has to be a change in the subjective norm. Okay? Which means that the norm of which I operate in has to challenge me. It has to cause my standards of performance to change. Okay? If you live in a household where the norm is to sleep in till noon every single day, or on the weekends you waste the whole day sleeping in and then you get out and you go partying, if that's the subjective norm, you're more likely to fall into that type of normal behavior. So we're talking about behavioral change here. And for everybody that wants to succeed and win and dominate in life, we need to have the appropriate behavior in order to do so. Okay, so the first component, attitude. Okay, the second component, there's 3 components here, by the way. The second component is the subjective norm. Okay, and subjective norm can be designed. Okay, it can be personally, you can design it. You can change your subjective norm. And the way you do that is you get around a different team. Okay, for example, if the subjective norm inside of your house is that weekends we fucking party, like maybe you're in college and you're going out, you're partying Friday night, you're sleeping in until fucking Saturday, right? And you're sleeping in until noon, whatever. If that's the subjective norm, then you can choose to move. Okay, and you move into a new household. Now imagine you move into a household with a bunch of fucking killers, like absolute animals, people that are trying to be great in life. And they're like up at sunrise, they're training, they're studying, they're in the books, whatever it is they're trying to do, and they do that 7 days a week. Well, guess what happens? There's a new subjective norm. Okay, and so we're talking about the theory of reasoned action, which means me as an individual, I'm inside of this, let's just call it a container, okay, which is an environment. And I'm trying to change my personal behavior. Well, the first thing that I need in that container is my attitude has to be right. Then the second thing I need in that container is that I have to have a change in subjective norm. What's the normal thing that I'm exposed to? Because through that, I feel an obligation to change myself. I say, man, fuck, this is an acceptable behavior, right? It's the same reason why in the United States, like there's a certain standard and code of conduct that people live by, right? I don't want to get us sidetracked on United States standards, but my point is we're talking about reasoned action. Okay? So those are 2 components. There's a third one. So you have the right attitude, okay? Then your subjective norm changes. And then the third thing is your personal intention. Okay? Which means your behavior intention. So in order for true behavior change to take place, you want to become more consistent, you want to train more, you want to, whatever it is, you want to succeed more. Attitude, okay? Then your subjective norm, the expectation has to change, and then through that, your behavior intention has to be changed. Okay, which means that I could be in the right environment, I could have the right attitude. Hey, yeah, man, I'm open to change. Hell yeah, I'm positive, I'm optimistic, let's do it. Or I have a positive mindset, I have an attitude that's conducive to change. But I'm telling everybody that, and I'm in an environment where it's normal to operate at a high level. And then, but if my intention is to stay the same, deep down, I feel like I will never change. Like deep down. Not just I'm not saying that, don't get this confused, don't get intention confused with attitude. I'm talking about deep down into your subconscious. Do I feel like I can actually change and improve. Not just my attitude, but what do I feel? Okay? So if you feel like you can change and you have the other components, boom, behavioral change can happen. So again, attitude, subjective norm, then behavioral intention creates behavioral change. Okay? Now to Alex's point, one of the ways that I personally designed the environment around me is I am constantly seeking ways to change my subjective norm. Okay, I have the right attitude. I'm always open to growth. I want to improve. My environment is something that's constantly evolving. Okay, and I want it to constantly demand a higher level from me, which means that at all point in time, I'm constantly looking for ways to improve my subjective norm. One of the ways that I do that is social media. Okay, who I'm following. I don't follow bullshit content. I follow either my clients, or I follow people that I'm friends with, or I follow high-level people that I respect and admire. I'm not going to put bullshit into my head because it influences my subjective norm. Okay, another way that I do this is I don't believe that you should in all areas of your life that you should have I believe it's okay to have components of your life where people aren't constantly challenging you. Okay, you know, it's okay to be the big fish in a small pond sometimes. In fact, I believe in kind of dividing up my life to where if I really want to grow in fitness or business, then I need to be an architect about changing that subjective norm. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to cut out friends and family that are comfortable being in the environment that they're in. I don't necessarily believe that. I want to have kind of a ratio of people that challenge me plus people that maybe are a little bit behind me, because I feel like it's the leader's responsibility to take those people that haven't necessarily started off on the path and bring them along. Okay? What's the point of achieving and growing and being your absolute best if you're just doing it by yourself? The point is to bring people along with you. In order to do that, everybody moves at different paces. So for you as a leader who's growing and trying to achieving, I think it's still important to be in an environment where your subjective norm is constantly causing a higher level of performance from you, but it's also, your norm it also includes people that may be behind you because you're bringing them up and bringing them along. Okay? So Alex, you asked about who do I surround myself with, and what's my thought process on that, and that's what it is. It's to have a balance of different people, but to make my ecosystem always evolving. Okay, yeah. So fucking masterclass on some psychology shit there, huh? Who liked that? Drop a comment if you like that. Let me see what this one says. Is changing your subjective norm protective of developing toxic relationships? Alex was like, holy shit. Yeah. If you guys want to study a little bit more about that concept that I just covered, just go type in theory of planned behavior. You could type that in, or you could type in theory of reasoned action. Okay, the theory of reasoned action is what I broke down. It's I have to reason myself into action, okay, in order to create behavior change. All right, so Mean says, is changing your subjective norm protective of developing toxic relationships? Changing your subjective norm, I don't necessarily know if you mean protective. I think what you mean is when you change your subjective norm, does that help? Like, should you get rid of toxic relationships? Yeah, you shouldn't allow toxic relationships into the environment that you exist and operate in. Okay? That I choose, everywhere I put myself, I choose to limit drama. I don't want toxicity and I don't want fucking drama. Because if you put me in that, eventually I'm going to get absorbed and pulled into it in some capacity. That's going to occupy space in my mind. And the way I look at toxicity and negativity is it's a lot like being shot. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to be shot a little bit. You just don't want to be fucking shot, right? So with toxicity and negativity, keep that shit away from me. And you know, if your circle includes some of that, it's very, very hard, guys. If you come from an environment that is toxic, it's very hard to get rid of it. Okay, all the way. It takes a long time, at least from what I've seen and what I've experienced. But I'll tell you that it's a pursuit worth it's a pursuit worth striving to achieve. Like it's a pursuit worth chasing, getting rid of all that toxicity, because little by little, you know, you start making progress, and eventually you're like, holy shit, I don't have any fucking problems anymore. At least not like the ones I used to have. Okay. Yeah, you said is saying preventing against developing a toxic relationship. Yeah. So exactly, it's yeah. So my point here with the subjective norm is that you should design your subjective norm, right? Which means subjective norm means it's not just your environment, it's what you expect is normal around you. Okay? Like if you think here's a really good example. If you think it's normal to be super fucking dysfunctional, if you think it's normal to be broke, if you think it's normal, that's your subjective norm, right? And what you want is a subjective norm that's not that negative and toxic. That's a subjective norm where you think it's normal to be wealthy. You think it's normal to be without drama, or you think it's normal to be consistent, right? That's the subjective norm that you want to create. Make sense? Drop some comments if you like that. That was fire shit, guys. I should repost this, huh? Maybe I probably won't, to be honest. Maybe I'll cut some clips out of it. You guys just got a masterclass right there. This is why, you know, people always, you hear in the personal development space all the time, they say, you're the average of the 5 people you hang around. But nobody can fucking articulate to you why. They're just literally repeating some fucking memes that they found on the internet. I'm talking about these personal development experts, these coaches. Okay? But the reality is that if you understand the psychology behind it, then you're really educated. Then you actually know what the fuck you're talking about. Okay? And we just broke that down. Why there's a faster way. There's a faster way to behavior change. Okay? I just talked you through the theory of reasoned action. Okay? But if you look at that like a 3-step process, attitude, subjective norm, behavioral intention, boom, creates behavioral change. If you look at that as like a 3-step process, there's actually a single-step process that you can take. 1 step. You can go 3 steps or you can go 1 step. What's the 1 step? The 1 step is perceived behavioral control. Okay? Perceived behavioral control, what that means is that you perceive you're in control, 100% control of your ability to change. Okay? That no matter what environment you're in, no matter what your circumstances, that you are the person that controls your behavior and nothing else, and that you can do it. Okay? Now, if you believe that with 100%, not 99%, not 90%, not 60%, but 100%, and it's sold into your soul, perceived behavioral control is the fastest way to behavioral change. Okay? So, if you're inside of a toxic environment, is it going to influence you? Probably. But if you truly, truly want to change, all you have to really focus on is the perception that your behavior is underneath your control. Okay, this is why you guys see me posting stuff where I'm constantly challenging the victim mentality, and I'm constantly telling people that it's their responsibility to take command and control of their life, essentially. It's because I'm focused on changing their perceived behavioral control. Make sense? Who's with me? Good stuff, coach. That's what we're talking about. There we go. Love the comments. Thanks, guys. I feed off of your comments, by the way. Perceived behavioral control. Just look up, you can probably watch some YouTube videos on it. Just look up the theory of planned behavior. Okay? People raising their hands. Appreciate you guys. Bean says, can either way be implemented strategically, not just tactically? So let's define these real quick. So if you're going to change your perceived behavioral control tactically, you're asking what should I do? There's a lot. I mean, that would get into coaching. Okay. These lives, I'm going to tell you, what to do. If you want to learn how to do it, that's more of a conversation for coaching. Okay. So when we talk about tactics, we're talking about the how to. So yeah, absolutely. Both concepts, perceived behavioral control and reasoned action, can both be implemented strategically. Okay. Which means that you're going to, on your own, you understand the concept, and now you're going to start making micro adjustments to your life to change both components. Okay. Tactically, if you want to get into the tactics of it, you'd be like, Jeremiah, what exactly should I do today? And I'd be like, boom, do this. Boom, do this, right? Which I'm not going to get into the tactics here. I am going to talk strategy, which we just covered. Okay. It's up to you to turn it into tactics. And if you want to join my coaching program, that's a great way to get some tactics. Bah, little plug. Conquer Academy, baby. Talked about some deep shit. I think somebody asked, where am I from? I think I saw that earlier. I'll scroll up a little bit. Where are you from? Originally, I'm from California. I live in Colorado. Who is the coaching program designed for? Good question. I'll tell you who it's not for. It's not for fucking negative Nancy's. It's not for the uncommitted. Okay, it's not for people who deep down aren't going to take their shit seriously. Okay, it's not for people who expect to be handheld. My coaching program is not for that. If you expect to buy your way to your goals, it doesn't work like that. I need somebody that's going to meet me halfway. So it's for optimistic people. If you have some negativity in you, that's okay. I'm just saying, but if you're ambitious, if you're hungry for, success, if you're looking to be around other people that are pushing the pace, if you're tired of being the big fish in a small pond, then my coaching program's for you. I've worked with a lot of different people, corporate professionals, military, business owners, entrepreneurs, small business owners mostly. If I do any big business stuff, it's usually in person. Small business is meaning like you're going to be underneath probably a few million a year. you're probably underneath the few million a year. If you're above 5 million a year, then we probably need to look at bringing some of your team into Conquer Academy, into the winners table. But I do have pillars for the business owner that may be over 5 million a year. But I do workshops, in-person training. From time to time, I do some one-on-one stuff. So Jay's in it. So Jay's an entrepreneur. He's a great example. Jay's an entrepreneur. He's never served in the military, loves the military style. He loves the directness of it. He loves people who want to get after it. He's been in my program for over a year. He renewed a couple months ago. He's an entrepreneur. It's for people who are ready for real change and looking for real results. No Karens. That's right. So there you go. If you want more info, Rem, if you want more info, just send me a DM, dude. Just say, let's talk about your coaching program. But really what it is, guys, is it's a community of people, like leaders, giving their true best. That's really what it is, man. And what I focus on, there's, this conversation that we had earlier about the psychology of change. I talk a lot about personal development in my coaching program. Not just talk, but teach. Like I break it down into steps. Goal setting, achievement, leadership, high performance, mindset, fitness. The way we do it is we get you clear on what the biggest 4 goals that you want to work towards are. And then we help you create a plan to them. And then we support you along the way. Hold you accountable. Put you in around other people that are doing the same. Jay, I missed your question earlier. I'm going back. I saw it earlier. Hold on. Which way is the beach? This way. Hold on. Conquer Academy pays for itself. Brittany's in the program as well. She's been awesome to work with. All these guys have been awesome to work with. KC as well. Cool. So, Rem, we've brought in, I think, 3 people that are either from straight up from Nick Bear's audience. He's a friend of mine, by the way. We brought in an ambassador this last week. His name's Kevin. He's awesome. He's a captain in the reserves. I did my welcome call with him yesterday. He's also a CrossFit coach. He also does engineering consulting, essentially. So he's on his way to getting promoted to major. And he came in because he wanted to get more focus on his work-life balance. And he was from the Nick Bear community. Really great guy. So it's him. There's Peyton. Peyton came in. Actually, they're a couple. Peyton and Mary both came in. Power couple that came into Conquer Academy. One of them is a little bit of an entrepreneur. The other one is active duty military. They came in because they had achieved some success and they didn't want to get complacent there. And they wanted to challenge themselves to grow even more. So that's another one. Caitlin is on the BPN team as well. She's a physical therapist, and she just launched her own business. So she listened to the podcast that I did with Nick. Had the challenge of kind of getting in her own way, like we all do, overthinking, and making the plan too complex. So she said, hey, I need leadership development. Coaching sounds good. Like Jeremiah's background, she signed up. And in my opinion, she's doing awesome. She started off, she's doing some workshops now. Her business model is more refined. And she feels good about herself. I know she does. The reality is when you're trying to succeed at something, there's these you're gonna have these spikes of success, oh man, I'm doing great, motivation. And then when you're on your own, you're gonna crash. And it's gonna be fuck, what am I doing? Oh my gosh. Doesn't matter what goal you're working on. So it's nice when you have a team that is there that can support you when you go through those little low moments to make sure that you stay on course. And being on a team, like I described earlier, with the theory of planned reason is really important because it changes your subjective norm. I can't tell you how many people have joined Conquer Academy that have hated running, that have turned into runners because so many people in our program see it as a way to build discipline in their mindset. Talk about changing your subjective norm. Okay? I used to push people to start running. Now I don't. They just, when they come in, all of a sudden they start doing a shit ton of cardio. It's because the community. See, look at these guys. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's Muskan Rana. You pronounce my name so sweetly. No problem. Guilty. Look at that, Francine too. Cool, man. Yeah. Yeah, Doug here too. Look at all these Conquer Academy members jumping in. They're all talking about it. Rem, I would say, dude, if your intuition is telling you, I would say trust your intuition, man. If you're like, hey, I should explore this, we have a free coaching call that we can get you on, dude. All you gotta do is send me your cell phone and your email, and I'll get somebody to reach out to you, get you on an appointment. It's a free call, and then if it looks like we're a good fit, you guys can explore like what exactly that would look like for Conquer. Yeah, and you guys, Jay's got a good point here. My access, I focus very, very heavily on every single client that comes in. Obviously, I'm not perfect, and I mess it up all the time, but Jay's saying it right now. Like, I am very, very accessible. So it's a group program, but it's important to me that it has like a one-on-one feel. And in fact, if I can swing them, sometimes I do my welcome calls so they're just one-on-ones, and I get to know everybody one individual at a time. Sometimes I have to do 2 or 3 people at a time, but it's like I said, it's a team group program, but it has that one-on-one feel for the whole time. I would say, like, my advice though is somebody that's I'm doing this myself, okay? My advice is that we're closing in on the end of the year, and a lot of people are going to go through the New Year's resolution thing. And I would start on your goals now. Okay, I'm doing the same thing. Like, I'm focused on this year, but I'm already setting the conditions for next year. Okay, I have my own coaches, my own teams, and stuff like that on top of what I do with Conquer Academy. Conquer Academy, by the way, demands a lot from me, right? It makes me want to lead by a good example. So they push me. They change my subjective norm. But I also have my places where I go, right? So looking forward to welcoming you to the team. By the way, these guys that are jumping in, I don't pay any of them to say this. Okay, they are legit Conquer Academy members. This is all unsolicited comments. They're jumping in. I knew a guy that did that shit. He would literally like hire people to drop comments on his stuff. Bro, if you have to pay people to drop shit on your lives, realize that you just need to get fucking better. Cool. All right, guys, nice chatting today. I hope you learned something about yourself, behavior change, psychology. Yeah, it's weak as fuck, by the way. That's weak shit. Don't pay to do that, man. Just get better. All right. Again, I'll recap on the model that you can study. It's called the theory of planned behavior. That's the model that you would want to study for changing